At Lincoln High School, the halls buzzed with the usual morning energy. Students hurried to their lockers, chatting about weekend plans or last night's football game. Among them was Mr. Harrison, a tall man in his late 40s with neatly combed, gray hair and a suit that always looked freshly pressed. He was known as one of the best math teachers in the district, but also one of the strictest. His classroom was a place where discipline reigned supreme, and only the brightest students thrived under his watchful eye. On this particular Monday morning, Mr. Harrison stood at the front of his classroom, pacing back and forth like a general, inspecting his troops. In front of him sat 10 of his most promising students, all preparing for the upcoming regional math competition. These were kids who lived and breathed numbers, the kind of students who could solve quadratic equations before breakfast. Today they were tackling some of the toughest problems Mr. Harrison had ever assigned, problems designed to push even the sharpest minds to their limits. The room was silent except for the occasional scratch of pencils against paper and the faint hum of the fluorescent lights overhead. Mr. Harrison paused by the whiteboard, glancing at the clock on the wall. It was almost time for the bell to ring, signaling the end of first period. Just as he turned to address his students, something caught his attention through the open door. A figure moved slowly down the hallway outside, pushing a cart filled with cleaning supplies. It was Lily Parker, the daughter of Frank Parker, the school janitor. Lily was a quiet girl, barely noticeable unless you paid close attention. She wore simple clothes, a faded hoodie and jeans, and her light brown hair was tied back in a loose ponytail. At 16, she blended into the background of the school, rarely speaking to anyone outside of her father. But today, something about her presence struck Mr. Harrison. Maybe it was the way she lingered just outside the doorway, seemingly absorbed in thought. Or maybe it was the fact that she didn't seem bothered by the noise and chaos around her. Whatever it was, it intrigued him. Mr. Harrison stepped out into the hallway, closing the distance between himself and Lily. "Miss Parker," he said, his voice sharp and commanding. Lily stopped mid-step, startled by the sound of her name. She turned to face him, clutching the handle of the cart tightly. "Yes, sir?" she replied softly, her eyes wide with uncertainty. He gestured toward the classroom behind him. "Do you have a moment? I'd like to show you something." Before she could respond, he walked back inside, leaving her no choice but to follow. The other students glanced up curiously as Lily entered, unsure why the janitor's daughter had been summoned. Mr. Harrison ignored their stares and picked up a piece of paper from his desk. On it was written a complex calculus problem, one that involved multiple variables and required a deep understanding of advanced mathematics. "This," he announced, holding the paper up for everyone to see, "is what we're working on today. Now, Miss Parker, let me ask you something. Do you think someone like you could solve a problem like this?" His tone was condescending, almost mocking, but Lily didn't flinch. She stared at the equation, her brow furrowing slightly as she processed the symbols and numbers. For a brief moment, she felt a flicker of anger at being singled out like this. But then another feeling took over: curiosity. She had always loved puzzles, especially ones involving math. Back home, she spent hours poring over old textbooks her father found for her at thrift stores. Solving equations gave her a sense of accomplishment, a reminder that there was beauty in logic and order. "I'm not sure," she admitted after a pause, looking directly at Mr. Harrison. "But I'd like to try." Her response surprised him. He hadn't expected her to accept the challenge so calmly. Still, he handed her the paper with a smirk, certain that she wouldn't be able to make heads or tails of it. "Take your time," he said dismissively, turning back to his students. "We'll see how far you get." Lily stepped aside, leaning against the wall as she studied the problem. The rest of the class returned to their work, though several pairs of eyes kept sneaking glances in her direction. They whispered among themselves, speculating about what would happen next. No one believed she stood a chance, not against a problem like this. But Lily wasn't listening to them. She was focused, her mind racing through possibilities. Slowly, she began jot heroes. After leaving school that afternoon, Lily walked home with her thoughts swirling. The calculus problem Mr. Harrison had given her was etched into her mind like a puzzle waiting to be solved. She didn't care about his mocking tone or the way he seemed to doubt her abilities. All she cared about was finding the answer. Math had always been her escape, a world where everything made sense and followed clear rules. And this problem, no matter how difficult it looked, was just another challenge. When she arrived at her small apartment, her father, Frank, greeted her warmly. "How was your day?" he asked, wiping his hands on a towel as he stepped out of the kitchen. Frank worked tirelessly as the janitor at Lincoln High, but despite their modest lifestyle, he always made sure Lily knew she was loved and supported. "It was okay," Lily replied, setting her backpack on the table. She hesitated for a moment, before pulling out the piece of paper with the math problem on it. "Mr. Harrison gave me this to solve during class today." Frank raised an eyebrow, studying the equation. He wasn't a mathematician by any means, but he recognized complexity when he saw it. "This looks tough," he said honestly. "Why'd he give you something like this?" Lily shrugged. "I don't know. Maybe he thought I couldn't do it." She let out a small laugh, though there was a hint of bitterness in her voice. "But I want to prove him wrong." Frank smiled proudly. "That's my girl. You've always been good at figuring things out. Take your time. You'll get it." With that encouragement, Lily sat down at the kitchen table and began working. The apartment was quiet except for the faint hum of the refrigerator and the occasional clink of dishes as Frank cleaned up after dinner. Hours passed, but Lily didn't notice. She was completely absorbed, scribbling notes and testing different approaches until finally the pieces started falling into place. By midnight, she had solved the problem. Her handwriting covered the page, neat and precise, with each step explained clearly. It wasn't just correct, it was elegant, showcasing a level of understanding that went beyond simply getting the right answer. Satisfied with her work, Lily placed the paper carefully on the table and headed to bed. The next morning, Lily arrived at school early, clutching the completed solution in her hand. She felt nervous but determined. As she approached Mr. Harrison's classroom, she found him organizing papers at his desk. When he noticed her standing in the doorway, he looked up, surprised. "Miss Parker," he said, raising an eyebrow. "What brings you here so early?" "I finished the problem," she replied softly, holding out the sheet of paper. Mr. Harrison took it, glancing at it briefly before setting it aside without looking closely. "We'll see," he muttered, dismissing her with a wave of his hand. Lily nodded and left, unsure what else to say. She returned to her usual routine, helping her father clean the hallways between classes. But throughout the day, she couldn't shake the feeling that Mr. Harrison hadn't taken her seriously. Later that afternoon, as the final bell rang and students poured out of classrooms, Mr. Harrison remained seated at his desk. He picked up the paper Lily had handed him earlier and began reading it more carefully. At first, he skimmed through it quickly, expecting to find errors or incomplete steps. But as he delved deeper, his expression changed. His eyes widened, and he leaned forward, rereading sections multiple times. The solution was flawless. Not only had Lily solved the problem correctly, but she had done so in a way that demonstrated a profound grasp of advanced mathematical concepts. Even some of his top students struggled with problems like this, yet here was a girl, a janitor's daughter, who had solved it effortlessly. For a moment, Mr. Harrison sat in stunned silence. How could this be possible? He prided himself on spotting talent, yet he had completely underestimated Lily. Was it because of who her father was? Or was it because she didn't fit the mold of the typical math whiz? Doubt crept into his mind, but curiosity soon took over. If Lily could solve this problem, what else was she capable of? He decided to test her further, not out of kindness, but because he needed to understand how someone like her possessed such skill. The following day, Mr. Harrison called Lily into his classroom again. This time, he handed her another problem, even harder than the first. "Let's see if you can handle this one," he said, his tone still skeptical, but tinged with intrigue. Lily accepted the challenge without hesitation. taking the paper and heading back to her corner of the hallway to think. Word of Lily's accomplishment spread quickly among the faculty. Mrs. Peterson, the English teacher, overheard Mr. Harrison talking about it in the teacher's lounge. "Did you hear about that girl, the janitor's daughter?" she asked excitedly. Apparently, she solved one of Harrison's toughest math problems. Several other teachers chimed in, expressing disbelief and admiration. Some speculated about whether Lily had help, while others marveled at her natural talent. The story eventually reached the ears of Principal Thompson, who decided to pay closer attention to the situation. Meanwhile, Lily continued to shine. Each new problem Mr. Harrison gave her, she solved with ease, often providing insights that even he hadn't considered. Despite her growing success, she remained humble, never seeking recognition or praise. To her, solving these problems was simply a way to prove to herself, and maybe to Mr. Harrison, that she belonged. But not everyone shared Mr. Harrison's skepticism. Emma Roberts, one of his top students, noticed Lily's brilliance and became fascinated by her quiet confidence. During lunch breaks, Emma would sit near Lily in the cafeteria, striking up conversations about math and asking questions about her methods. At first, Lily was hesitant to open up, but Emma's genuine interest helped break down the walls between them. "You're really amazing at this," Emma said one day, pointing to a notebook filled with Lily's calculations. "Have you ever thought about joining the math team?" Lily shook her head. "I don't think I'd fit in," she admitted. "Besides, I'm just doing this for myself." Emma frowned. "That's not fair. You deserve to be recognized for your talent. Maybe Mr. Harrison will come around eventually." Lily smiled faintly but didn't respond. She knew better than to expect much from Mr. Harrison, at least not yet. For now, she was content to keep solving problems, proving to herself that she was capable of greatness, even if no one else believed it. As days turned into weeks, Lily's presence in the school became impossible to ignore. Students whispered about her in the hallways, and teachers began to wonder if they had overlooked someone truly extraordinary. Little did they know the journey was only beginning, for Lily, for Mr. Harrison, and for everyone at Lincoln High. As the weeks went by, Lily's reputation at Lincoln High continued to grow. Mr. Harrison kept testing her with increasingly difficult math problems, each one designed to push her limits. Yet no matter how complex the challenge, Lily always found a way to solve it. Her solutions were not only correct, but often more creative than anything Mr. Harrison had seen from his brightest students. Despite her consistent success, he remained skeptical. How could someone like her, a janitor's daughter who didn't come from an academic background, possess such talent? He couldn't shake the feeling that there must be some explanation, some hidden factor he wasn't seeing. One afternoon, as Lily worked on another problem in the hallway outside his classroom, Mr. Harrison decided to confront her directly. He stepped out into the corridor, his arms crossed and his expression stern. "Lily," he began, his voice low and deliberate, "I need to ask you something." She looked up from her notebook, startled by his sudden appearance. "Yes, sir?" "Where are you getting your answers?" he asked bluntly. "Are you working with someone else, a tutor maybe, or are you copying from books?" Lily blinked, taken aback by the accusation. For a moment, she didn't know how to respond. She had spent countless hours solving these problems on her own, pouring her heart and soul into every equation. To hear him suggest she was cheating stung deeply. "No, sir," she said finally, her voice steady despite the hurt she felt. "I'm doing this by myself." Mr. Harrison frowned, clearly unconvinced. "That's hard to believe. Problems like these aren't easy. Even my top students struggle with them. And yet you solve them without breaking a sweat. Explain that to me." Lily hesitated, unsure whether to defend herself or walk away. But then she remembered all the nights she had stayed up late, teaching herself advanced concepts from old textbooks. She thought about the sacrifices her father had made to give her opportunities, even when money was tight. She owed it to him, and to herself, to speak up. "I don't have a tutor," she said firmly, meeting his gaze. "My dad finds books. For me, at thrift stores and libraries, I read them and practice on my own. Math, it's something I've always loved. It makes sense to me in a way other things don't." Her words hung in the air between them. For the first time, Mr. Harrison seemed to soften, though his skepticism still lingered. "If what you're saying is true," he said slowly, "then you're wasting your potential. You should be competing with the best students, not hiding in the hallways." Before Lily could respond, the bell rang, signaling the end of the school day. Students spilled out of classrooms, their laughter and chatter filling the hallway. Mr. Harrison turned and walked back into his room, leaving Lily standing alone with her thoughts. Later that evening, Lily sat at the kitchen table, replaying the conversation in her mind. Her father noticed her quiet demeanor and placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" he asked gently. She sighed, explaining what had happened with Mr. Harrison. "He thinks I'm cheating," she admitted, her voice tinged with frustration. "Even after everything I've done, he still doesn't believe in me." Frank's face darkened with anger, but he quickly masked it with a reassuring smile. "Don't let him get to you, Lily. You know the truth. That's all that matters." "But why does he have to doubt me?" she asked, tears welling up in her eyes. "Why can't he just accept that I'm good at this?" Frank pulled up a chair and sat beside her. "Some people have trouble seeing past what's right in front of them. They make assumptions based on where you come from or what you look like. But that doesn't mean you should stop trying. Show him and everyone else who you really are." His words gave her strength. The next morning, Lily returned to school with renewed determination. When Mr. Harrison handed her another problem, she accepted it without hesitation. This time, however, she decided to go a step further. Instead of simply solving the equation, she wrote detailed notes explaining her thought process, showing exactly how she arrived at the solution. When she returned the completed work to him later that day, Mr. Harrison was surprised by the level of detail. As he read through her notes, he realized she wasn't just memorizing formulas or following steps blindly. She truly understood the underlying principles. Still, his pride prevented him from fully acknowledging her talent. Instead, he invited her to join his after-school math sessions, claiming it was an opportunity for any interested student to improve their skills. At first, Lily hesitated. She knew the group consisted of Lincoln High's top performers, students who had been groomed for academic success since elementary school. Would they accept her? Would they treat her like an outsider? But something inside her pushed her to say yes. If she wanted to prove herself, not just to Mr. Harrison but to everyone, this was her chance. The first session was awkward. Lily sat at the edge of the circle, clutching her notebook tightly while the other students chatted casually about advanced calculus and physics. Mr. Harrison introduced her briefly, though his tone suggested she was there more as an experiment than a legitimate participant. The others glanced at her curiously, whispering among themselves before returning their attention to the lesson. But when Mr. Harrison presented a new problem, Lily surprised everyone, including herself. Without hesitation, she raised her hand and offered a solution that was both innovative and efficient. The room fell silent as she explained her reasoning, her confidence growing with each word. By the end of the session, even the most skeptical students were nodding in approval. Emma Roberts, who had befriended Lily weeks earlier, smiled warmly. "That was incredible," she said afterward as they packed up their things. "You're going to blow everyone away at the competition." Lily shook her head modestly. "I just want to do my best, that's all." Despite her humility, news of her performance spread quickly. Other students began approaching her during lunch breaks, asking for help with their assignments or seeking advice on tricky problems. Some were genuinely curious, while others were motivated by admiration or perhaps jealousy. Either way, Lily found herself becoming part of conversations she had never imagined being included in. But not everyone welcomed her newfound presence. A few students resented her success, particularly those who had long considered themselves the elite of Mr. Harrison's class. One boy, Ryan, openly mocked her during a group discussion. "Maybe she's just lucky," he muttered loud enough for everyone to hear. Or maybe someone's feeding her the answers. Lily flushed with embarrassment, but before she could respond, Emma stepped in. "That's not fair," she snapped, glaring at Ryan. "You weren't here when she solved that last problem. She did it all on her own, faster than anyone else. Stop trying to bring her down just because she's better than you." Ryan scowled but didn't argue further. From that day forward, Lily noticed a shift in the group dynamic. While some students remained distant, others began treating her with respect, recognizing her contributions rather than dismissing them. As the weeks passed, Lily grew more comfortable in her role within the math team. With each session, she proved herself not only as a solver of problems but also as a collaborator, offering fresh perspectives that challenged even Mr. Harrison's methods. Slowly but surely, the barriers between her and the rest of the group began to crumble. Yet despite her progress, Mr. Harrison still struggled to reconcile his initial judgment with the reality of Lily's abilities. He watched her closely, searching for any sign of dishonesty or outside influence. But the more he observed, the clearer it became. Lily Parker was exactly who she claimed to be, a natural-born mathematician whose potential knew no bounds. Unbeknownst to him, his doubts were about to be put to the ultimate test. The regional math competition was fast approaching, and Lily's name was now firmly on the roster alongside Lincoln High's finest. For the first time, Mr. Harrison allowed himself to consider the possibility that she might actually win. Whether he was ready to admit it or not, Lily wasn't just proving herself to the world, she was changing the way he saw it. The day of the regional math competition finally arrived, bringing with it a mix of excitement and nerves. Students from schools across the district gathered in the auditorium of Westridge High School, where rows of tables were set up for the event. Each participant carried their own hopes and dreams, but none stood out quite like Lily Parker. Dressed in a simple sweater and jeans, she blended into the crowd, yet her presence was undeniable. She wasn't there to draw attention to herself. She was there to prove something, not just to others, but to herself. Mr. Harrison had insisted on accompanying the team, though his reasons weren't entirely clear. On one hand, he wanted to ensure his students performed well. It was his reputation on the line as much as theirs. On the other hand, he couldn't deny the growing curiosity he felt toward Lily. He still wrestled with doubts about how someone so unassuming could possess such extraordinary talent. Was it possible that his earlier judgments had been wrong? The thought gnawed at him as he watched her take her seat among the competitors. The competition began with a series of individual problems designed to test each student's problem-solving skills. These were followed by team challenges that required collaboration and quick thinking. As the clock ticked down, the room buzzed with quiet intensity. Pencils scratched against paper, calculators clicked, and minds raced to find solutions. For Lily, the problems came naturally, almost instinctively. She moved through them with ease, her focus unwavering. But it wasn't until the final round, a grueling geometry proof, that tensions reached their peak. Mr. Harrison watched closely as the judges handed out the instructions for the proof. It was a notoriously difficult problem, one that had stumped even seasoned mathematicians in previous years. Most students stared blankly at their papers, unsure where to begin. A few scribbled tentative attempts, only to erase them moments later. But Lily didn't hesitate. She read the problem once, twice, then began writing, her pen moving steadily across the page. Emma Roberts sat nearby, glancing over at Lily every now and then. Even she, who had grown accustomed to Lily's brilliance, was amazed by how quickly she worked. "How does she do it?" Emma whispered to another teammate, shaking her head in awe. Lily finished long before anyone else, setting her pencil down with a quiet confidence. When the time ran out, the judges collected the papers and retreated to score the answers. The wait felt endless, the silence in the room heavy with anticipation. Finally, after what seemed like hours, the head judge returned to announce the results. Third place goes to Ryan Caldwell of Jefferson Academy. The crowd erupted in applause as Ryan stepped forward to accept his award. Then came second place. Emma Roberts of Lincoln High School. Emma beamed as she walked to the stage, waving proudly at her teammates. Mr. Harrison clapped along, though his eyes remained fixed on Lily. If Emma had placed second, that meant only one thing: Lily must have won first place. Sure enough, when the head judge called out the winner's name, it was hers. In first place. Lily Parker of Lincoln High School. For a moment, the room fell silent. No one had expected the janitor's daughter to come out on top. Then slowly the audience began to clap, the sound building into thunderous applause. Lily rose from her seat, her cheeks flushed with surprise. She made her way to the stage, accepting the trophy with trembling hands. As she looked out at the crowd, she spotted her father sitting in the back row, tears streaming down his face. Beside him, Mr. Harrison stood stiffly, his expression unreadable. After the ceremony, the Lincoln High team celebrated their success with pizza and laughter. Emma hugged Lily tightly, congratulating her on an incredible victory. Other students chimed in, praising her performance and expressing admiration for her skill. For the first time, Lily felt truly accepted, as though she belonged among these talented peers. But Mr. Harrison remained distant, lost in thought. He approached her later when the crowd had thinned and the noise had died down. "Lily," he said, his voice unusually soft. "I need to talk to you." She nodded, following him to a quiet corner of the room. "What is it, sir?" He hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "I owe you an apology," he admitted, his tone sincere. "I doubted you. I let my assumptions cloud my judgment, and for that I'm sorry." Lily blinked, surprised by his admission. "Thank you," she replied simply, unsure what else to say. "I underestimated you," he continued, "and I was wrong. You've shown me, and everyone here, what true talent looks like. I'd like to mentor you personally, if you're willing. Someone with your abilities deserves guidance and support." Her heart swelled with gratitude, but she also felt a pang of sadness. It had taken this long for him to see her for who she really was. Still, she appreciated the offer. "I'd like that," she said with a small smile. Over the next few weeks, Lily worked closely with Mr. Harrison, preparing for future competitions and exploring new areas of mathematics. Under his guidance, she discovered concepts she had never encountered before, expanding her knowledge far beyond what she had taught herself. At the same time, Mr. Harrison underwent a transformation of his own. Teaching Lily forced him to confront his biases and rethink the way he viewed potential. He realized that genius wasn't confined to certain backgrounds or appearances. It could be found anywhere, often in the most unexpected places. Word of Lily's achievements spread beyond Lincoln High, reaching local newspapers and community leaders. One afternoon, Principal Thompson called her into his office. "Lily," he said warmly, "your success has inspired many people, including me. We want to help you continue your education no matter what it takes." He handed her an envelope containing a full scholarship to a prestigious university known for its math program. Tears welled up in her eyes as she read the letter inside. For the first time, the dream she had kept hidden for so long felt within reach. That evening, Lily shared the news with her father. Frank hugged her tightly, overcome with emotion. "You did it, sweetheart," he said, his voice thick with pride. "All those late nights, all the hard work, it paid off." As the school year drew to a close, Lily reflected on everything that had happened. She had entered Lincoln High as an invisible figure, sweeping floors and staying in the shadows. Now she was leaving as a trailblazer, someone who had challenged perceptions and shattered stereotypes. Her journey wasn't just about math. It was about proving that anyone, regardless of where they came from, could achieve greatness with determination and support. During her final week at Lincoln High, Mr. Harrison gave a speech at the end of year assembly. Standing in front of the entire student body, he spoke candidly about his experience with Lily. "I used to believe that talent was easy to spot," he confessed, "but I was wrong. Sometimes, the brightest stars are hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone to notice them. Lily Parker taught me that brilliance knows no boundaries, and for that I will always be grateful." The audience erupted in applause, turning to look at Lily, who sat blushing in the front row. She wasn't comfortable being the center of attention, but she understood the importance of what Mr. Harrison was saying. His words weren't just for her, they were for everyone listening, a reminder to look beyond appearances and recognize the potential in others. When the assembly ended, Lily walked out into the sunshine, feeling lighter than she ever had before. Ahead of her lay a future filled with possibilities, one she had earned through hard work and perseverance. Behind her was a school forever changed by her presence, a place where doors were beginning to open wider for students like her. And though she knew challenges still lay ahead, she faced them with hope, knowing she wasn't alone. Her father, her friends, and even Mr. Harrison believed in her now. Together they had shown her that no obstacle was too great to overcome. As summer approached, Lily prepared to leave for college, her mind buzzing with excitement and nerves. The scholarship she had earned was more than just a ticket to higher education. It was a chance to step into a world where her talent could truly shine. For the first time, she wouldn't have to hide or downplay her abilities. Instead, she would be surrounded by people who shared her passion for math and learning. Her father, Frank, worked tirelessly to make sure she had everything she needed for the move. He spent weekends packing boxes, repairing old furniture they found at yard sales, and even teaching himself how to sew so he could mend her clothes. Though their apartment had always been modest, it now felt smaller than ever as piles of belongings accumulated in every corner. Despite the chaos, there was an undeniable sense of pride in the air. Frank often caught himself smiling as he watched Lily study late into the night, her textbooks spread across the kitchen table. She was ready, and he knew it. The day before she left, Lincoln High held a small farewell gathering in her honor. Teachers, students, and even some parents attended, filling the cafeteria with laughter and warm wishes. Principal Thompson gave a heartfelt speech, praising Lily not only for her academic achievements but also for her humility and kindness. "Lily reminds us all that true greatness isn't about where you come from," he said. "It's about what you do with the opportunities you're given." Emma Roberts stood up next, holding back tears as she spoke. "When I first met Lily, I didn't know what to expect, but over time I realized she wasn't just brilliant, she was brave. She faced challenges head-on, never letting anyone tell her she couldn't succeed. That's something we can all learn from." When it was Mr. Harrison's turn to speak, the room grew quiet. He cleared his throat, looking directly at Lily as he began. "There's a saying, the measure of a teacher is not what he knows but what his students achieve. If that's true, then I owe Lily Parker a great deal. She has taught me more than I ever imagined, not just about math, but about fairness, perseverance, and seeing people for who they really are. Thank you, Lily, for reminding me why I became a teacher." His words brought tears to Lily's eyes, though she tried to blink them away. She had never expected such recognition, let alone gratitude, from someone like Mr. Harrison. As the crowd applauded, she stood up and thanked everyone, her voice steady despite the lump in her throat. "I couldn't have done any of this without the support of my family, friends, and teachers," she said. "You've shown me that no dream is too big if you have people who believe in you. And now, I hope to pay that forward." When September arrived, Lily stepped onto the university campus for the first time. It was a sprawling place filled with towering buildings, bustling pathways, and students hurrying to class. At first she felt overwhelmed by the sheer size of it all, but as she settled into her dorm room and attended her first lectures, she began to feel at home. Her professors were impressed by her knowledge and encouraged her to pursue advanced coursework. Her classmates welcomed her warmly, eager to collaborate on projects and discuss theories. One of her favorite classes was abstract algebra, taught by Dr. Bennett, a renowned mathematician known for his groundbreaking research. From the moment he introduced himself on the first day, Lily admired his passion for the subject. After class one afternoon, she approached him with a question about a particularly challenging theorem. To her surprise, Dr. Bennett invited her to join his weekly seminar, a group of graduate students and faculty members who explored unsolved problems in mathematics. At first, Lily hesitated. She was still an undergraduate, and most of the participants were far more experienced than she was. but Dr. Bennett assured her she belonged there. Mathematics doesn't care about age or titles, he told her. It cares about ideas. And your ideas are worth hearing. Over time, Lily became a valued member of the seminar. Her insights often sparked lively debates, and her creativity led to breakthroughs that surprised even Dr. Bennett. One evening, after hours of intense discussion, she proposed a novel approach to a problem that had puzzled the group for weeks. When the others realized it worked, they erupted in cheers, patting her on the back and congratulating her. "You're going to change the field someday," Dr. Bennett said afterward, shaking his head in amazement. "Mark my words." Back at Lincoln High, news of Lily's success continued to inspire those she had left behind. Mr. Harrison kept her story alive in his classroom, using it as an example whenever students doubted themselves. "Look at Lily Parker," he would say. "She came from humble beginnings, but she didn't let that stop her. Neither should you." Emma Roberts, now a senior, took Lily's lessons to heart. She joined the math team captain position and made it her mission to create a more inclusive environment. Under her leadership, the group welcomed students from all backgrounds, encouraging them to participate regardless of their initial skill level. "Everyone deserves a chance to shine," Emma told her teammates. That's what Lily taught us. Even Ryan, the boy who had once mocked Lily, changed his attitude. He started sitting with her old friends during lunch, asking questions about math and admitting he had been wrong to judge her. "I didn't get it back then," he confessed. "One day. But now I see how amazing she really is." Meanwhile, Frank continued working as the janitor at Lincoln High, taking pride in the fact that his daughter had achieved so much. Whenever he passed Mr. Harrison in the hallway, they exchanged friendly nods, a silent acknowledgement of the bond they shared through Lily. Though neither man said much, both knew they had played a part in shaping her journey. Years later, Lily graduated at the top of her class, earning honors and accolades that reflected her hard work and dedication. She went on to pursue a PhD, conducting research that pushed the boundaries of mathematical theory. Her papers were published in prestigious journals, and she traveled the world giving lectures and workshops. Yet despite her growing fame, she remained grounded, always remembering the struggles that had shaped her. One of her proudest accomplishments was founding a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping underprivileged youth access educational resources. Through scholarships, mentorship programs, and free tutoring sessions, she aimed to give others the same opportunities she had been given. "Talent is everywhere," she often said, "but opportunity isn't. We need to bridge that gap." A crisp autumn afternoon, Lily returned to Lincoln High to deliver a keynote address at the school's annual career fair. Students packed the auditorium, eager to hear from someone who had once walked the same halls they did. As she stepped onto the stage, she scanned the crowd, recognizing familiar faces among the sea of young, hopeful eyes. Mr. Harrison sat in the front row, his hair grayer than before, but his expression as proud as ever. "Good afternoon," Lily began, her voice calm and confident. "When I was your age, I didn't think I'd end up here today. I thought my dreams were too big, my goals too far out of reach. But I was wrong. What I learned, and what I want you to take away, is that greatness isn't defined by where you start. It's defined by how hard you're willing to work and how many people you're willing to lift up along the way." The audience erupted in applause, students cheering and clapping as she finished her speech. Later, as she mingled with former teachers and current students, she found herself reflecting on how far she had come. From the quiet girl sweeping hallways to the woman standing on stage inspiring others, her journey had been anything but ordinary. And yet, it was proof of something extraordinary, that with determination, support, and belief in oneself, anything was possible. Years passed, and Lily Parker's name became synonymous with brilliance and perseverance. Her nonprofit organization flourished, reaching thousands of children across the country. Through her efforts, countless students discovered their own potential, breaking free from the limitations imposed by circumstance. But despite her success, Lily never forgot where she came from. Lincoln High remained a special place in her heart, a reminder of both the challenges she had faced and the people who had helped her overcome them. One spring afternoon, Nearly a decade after she had left for college, Lily received an invitation from Principal Thompson. The school was hosting its annual Alumni Day, and they wanted her to be the keynote speaker. At first, she hesitated. Her schedule was packed with speaking engagements and research commitments, but something about the request tugged at her. She thought about the teachers who had doubted her, the friends who had stood by her, and the father who had sacrificed everything to give her a chance. How could she say no? When the day arrived, Lily drove to Lincoln High, her hands gripping the steering wheel tightly. The familiar brick building loomed ahead, unchanged yet somehow smaller than she remembered. As she stepped out of her car, she felt a wave of nostalgia wash over her. The hallways smelled the same, faintly of chalk, dust and polished floors, and the sound of lockers slamming echoed through the corridors. It was as if time had stood still. Inside the auditorium, students buzzed with excitement, whispering about the famous mathematician who had once walked their halls. Teachers bustled around, making last-minute preparations while parents filled the rows, eager to hear what Lily had to say. When Mr. Harrison spotted her entering the room, he approached her with a warm smile. "You've come a long way," he said, extending his hand. "We're proud of you." Lily shook his hand firmly, meeting his gaze. "Thank you, sir, for everything." The ceremony began with introductions and performances by the school choir. Then it was Lily's turn. As she walked onto the stage, the room fell silent. She adjusted the microphone, taking a deep breath before beginning. "Good afternoon," she said, her voice steady and clear. "When I think back to my time here at Lincoln High, I remember feeling invisible, like I didn't belong. But this school taught me something important. It taught me that belonging isn't about fitting in. It's about finding your place even when others don't see it yet." She paused, scanning the audience. Her eyes landed on Frank, sitting near the front with tears in his eyes. Beside him was Emma, now a teacher herself, nodding encouragingly. Even Ryan, whose mocking words had once stung so deeply, sat quietly, listening intently. "I wasn't always confident in my abilities," Lily continued. "In fact, there were times when I doubted myself more than anyone else did. But I kept going because I believed, even just a little bit, that I could make a difference. And along the way, I met people who believed in me too. My dad, who worked tirelessly to provide for us. Emma, who saw past my quiet demeanor and became my friend. And yes, even Mr. Harrison, who challenged me to prove myself." A ripple of laughter spread through the crowd as Mr. Harrison shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Lily smiled softly before continuing. "What I learned is that everyone has their own journey. Some paths are smooth while others are full of obstacles. But no matter where you start, you can achieve greatness if you're willing to work for it. And you don't have to do it alone. Ask for help when you need it. Surround yourself with people who lift you up. And most importantly, never stop believing in yourself." Her words resonated deeply with the audience. Students scribbled notes in their programs, committing her advice to memory. Teachers exchanged knowing glances, reminded of why they chose to dedicate their lives to education. Parents clapped enthusiastically, grateful for the message of hope and resilience. After the speech, Lily stayed behind to sign autographs and take photos with admirers. She answered questions patiently, sharing stories about her struggles and triumphs. One student, a shy girl named Mia, lingered nervously at the edge of the crowd. When Lily noticed her, she knelt down to meet her eye level. "Hi there," she said gently. "What's your name?" "Mia," the girl whispered, clutching a math textbook to her chest. I like math, but sometimes it feels too hard." Lily nodded understandingly. "It's okay to find things difficult. That's how we grow. Just keep practicing and don't be afraid to ask for help. You're stronger than you think." Mia's face lit up with a tentative smile, and she hugged Lily tightly before running back to her parents. Watching the exchange, Mr. Harrison felt a lump rise in his throat. He realized then just how much Lily had changed, not just herself, but everyone fortunate enough to cross her path. Later that evening, Lily joined her father, Frank, for dinner at their favorite diner. Over burgers and milkshakes, they reminisced about the past, laughing at old memories and marveling at how far they had come. "I'm so proud of you, sweetheart," Frank said, his voice thick with emotion. "Your mom would have been proud, too." Lily reached across the table, squeezing his hand. "We couldn't have done it without you, Dad. You gave me everything I needed to succeed." As they left the diner, the sun setting in hues of orange and pink, Lily felt a profound sense of peace. She had spent years chasing dreams that once seemed impossible, proving to herself and the world that talent knows no boundaries. Yet what mattered most was not the awards or accolades. It was the connections she had forged, the lives she had touched, and the legacy she hoped to leave behind. Back at Lincoln High, life went on as usual. Students returned to their routines, inspired by Lily's story but focused on their own journeys. Mr. Harrison resumed teaching, though his approach had softened over the years. He encouraged curiosity, celebrated effort, and looked beyond appearances to nurture hidden potential. In his classroom, a framed photo of Lily hung proudly on the wall, a testament to the power of belief and perseverance. Emma Roberts, now leading her own math team, often told her students about the quiet girl who had defied expectations. "Never underestimate someone," she would say, "because you never know what they're capable of." And as for Lily, she continued to push the boundaries of mathematics, driven by a passion for discovery and a commitment to giving back. Her nonprofit grew, reaching communities far and wide. She traveled the globe, sharing her knowledge and inspiring others to dream big. Yet no matter where her journey took her, she carried Lincoln High in her heart, a reminder that sometimes the greatest achievements begin in the unlikeliest of places. In the end, Lily's story wasn't just about math. It was about breaking barriers, challenging stereotypes, and showing the world that brilliance comes in all forms. It was about proving that with hard work, determination, and a little faith, anyone can rise above their circumstances and shine. And it was about leaving a legacy, not of perfection, but of possibility. For Lily Parker, the journey had been long and winding, but it had led her exactly where she was meant to be, a beacon of hope for generations to come.